Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Logan and I am super excited to sit with you today and walk through the Owls Lenormand by Rosen. This is from the same creator that brought us the Magpies Lenormand, which is a fantastic Lenormand deck. They are larger than your traditional Lenormand size, which makes things like Grand Tableaus quite difficult. But I think if you really vibe with the art, sometimes it's worth the minor inconvenience. Or what I call a minor inconvenience anyway. I'm sure it's more than minor for people who probably rely on them and I don't know, read at events regularly using smaller tables. That's probably a huge problem. But for my purposes, it's fine, and I'm a big fan of their work. So let's see. I was looking to see if there's a description on the back of the box here. There's not, it's more so just some disclaimers. So this is the companion deck to the Magpie Lenormand, which has primarily black with some jewel-like blue tones, and then also the golden foil accents. I really enjoy this style of box where you have the top removes, but you have this strip of gold that shows through. I think that's really elegant, really beautiful. So let's take a look at it. The inside of the box, which by the way, if you're hearing crazy noises in the backgrounds, my cats are up to ninja shit. Soju, get away from that. Sorry, I had to reprimand her. So the inside of the box says, there was an owl lived in an oak. The more he heard, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Oh, if men were all like that wise bird. Which, if you're into that sort of a proverb, awesome. I personally not a huge fan, but that's just me. It's still really cute, and I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it, so that's great. It also came with these really cute owl stickers. These basically exemplify the sort of color palette we're going to be seeing throughout this entire deck, which is a gorgeous, like, almost like a rosy coral with hints of orange, lots of pale, like creamy tones and whites. It does come with a small guidebook, a white book. It's quite nice because I did have some questions as I was flipping through the deck. For instance, there is no stork card in this deck. The artist instead replaces it with cat because they feel that the themes of the stork card are very similar to ship and albatross, or in some decks, cross. So they chose to omit it, which is, again, it's fine for me. I realize that's probably not going to fly for some Lenormand readers, but you know, to each their own. I do find their little white books quite helpful. I'm also sorry for how ghastly my finger looks right now. I chopped myself for the first time ever while cooking last night, so it's still just a little ghastly looking. So we have this really beautiful rose gold edge, really beautiful card backs. It's a quality deck. The first deck, the Magpies Lenormand, had sort of like an anti-scratch matte type of finish, or a matte UV type of finish, so it's like very slippy, not reflective. It's really nice. This is what I believe was described as a soft touch finish, which I think is just the new name for a rose petal finish. It is not a finish that I'm crazy about because there is so much, like, the variables for how it's going to come out are wild. I've had rose petal finished decks that clump together constantly, no matter how much I use them, no matter how much like fanning powder I put on them. Ghastly to use. I wound up having to sell them because I couldn't use them. I would get so frustrated trying to shuffle that it's like, I don't want to get frustrated every time I use this deck. I don't want that to be part of my my practice. And then I've had the rare rose petal finish deck where it's actually quite manageable and it shuffles rather nicely, very similar to just like a plain matte finish as far as shuffleability. And I would say that at least this first printing of the Owls Lenormand, it is very much, it shuffles very, very well. So I think it's closer to a regular matte. And you know, I could be wrong. Soft touch might be some sort of a blend between rose petal and standard matte. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it anyway. So we're gonna go through them. They're out of order because I never keep them in order. because I use my decks. Um, Even though I haven't quite torn into this one yet, I started randomizing it, and then I've been moving for the past week, so life has interrupted. So we have the house, which is 2 birds' eggs sitting in a nest. I think that's quite lovely for house. This deck is very nature themed, which is something I really appreciate. The imagery is very simple. I do miss having the numbered cards and the playing card associations, but you get 5 fine without it, I think. At least I do. The tree, very standard, very straightforward. It looks like birch trees. The clouds. I just love the tones. The colors are so beautiful, and it's such a beautiful companion and like counterpoint to the Magpie's Lenormand. I'm sorry again for the noise. My cats are demonstrating things over here. The snake, quite beautiful. You'll also see these circles or spheres in the background through a lot of the designs. Not in all of them, but they do play a part in quite a few of them, so it's nice to see a theme running through like that. For the coffin, we have a cicada, I think cicada, right? Emerging from its husk, which I think is quite beautiful for the coffin. One thing has ended, but it's not like the end of everything, so I appreciate that. The bouquet, this one is so exquisitely beautiful. I'm not quite sure what type of flowers these are, if these are peonies maybe? No, not peonies. Mums? I'm not certain. Beautiful though. The scythe, gorgeous. I love the quickness and the sharpness. If anything can convey that in nature, I think choosing bird talons is a really smart way to do it. You'll notice if you have the Magpie's Lenormand, or if you watch my walkthrough of the Magpie's Lenormand, that a lot of the cards, they're almost identical to the Magpie version, but for the most part, as far as I can tell, they're not just like color swapped. Like the artist went in and redid the images, and they're very similar but with minor changes, which I think is really cool. The whip, lightning for the whip in a nature-based deck, I still think is genius, and I will continue to stan. The birds, look how cute they are. They're so wee and they're so plump, and the motion is really lovely. I like how they're going diagonally across, quite beautiful. I mean, it's not your standard like 2 birds shown, because I know a lot of people read like duality and like twin ship with the birds card, but I still think this does a lovely job of the communication and sort of frantic energy that can come with the birds. We have the caterpillar, which is one of our significator cards. The rider. The clover. Again, I can just look at this color palette all day, and I love like the subtle choices that the artist makes, because while we do have these corals and roses and golds throughout the deck, like not every clover has the same amount of color saturation or what have you on it, or color use. So I love that we have this one here that really stands out with the golden edges, and then the rest are a little bit more subdued. It's tiny attention to details like that that makes me really appreciate Rosen's decks and art in general. They're on Instagram. I'm not sure what else they're on. Go follow them if you just enjoy beautiful art, because everything they do is just soft, immaculate perfection. The ship, tiny little leaf floating in a stream, which I love. The chrysalid, which is very cool. Again, our significator cards for this deck, we're not dealing with man, woman, blah, blah, whatever. We are dealing with phases of personal growth, stages in life when it comes to the significator cards, which again, I get if that's not going to work for everybody. I think this is a deck that it helps to, like, if you're a little bit more relaxed with your approach, I think it could really work. The dog is very sweet, little sweet pup babe. I love this cat card so much. The other cat card is also fantastic because it reminds me of my cat Saki, who I have 2. Soju's a little tuxedo, and she's a sweet baby angel. And Saki is her sister. They're litter mates, and Saki is a big black cat who is extremely soft and very, very, very baby. So the other Magpie's Lenormand cat card reminds me of Saki because it's this very puffy, fluffy cat. But this one, this adorable tabby or almost Bengal looking baby, so sweet. I love the gigantic pronounced whiskers. I love the little tufts of ear hair at the top. It almost looks like lynxy. I love the body language. It's just so sweet, so trusting. I love that the eyes are closed. The other cat card from Magpie Lenormand, it's much more cautious looking. And so I enjoy that we're not only getting a different physically, like fur pattern, whatnot, body language, different cat, but like it's all different. The attitude and everything. For the tower, again, we have the spider on the web, which I really enjoy because, as I said in the other video, a lot of people will look at tower as representing institutions, and I really prefer to look at it like, I can't remember if it was Emily Rose Divination or the Rana George Lenormand book. I can't remember who I heard it from, but somebody out there helped me to see the tower as a card rather of perspective and isolation. It could have also been Kelly from Truth and Story. She has, I can't remember if she has Lenormand specific videos and educational materials, but her takes on the Lenormand cards I find very interesting, and they align really with, it's shaped my own perspective, we'll say. The Garden. I love this card in the other deck. I love this card in this deck. It just feels like you have this beautiful insulated bubble of peace and tranquility, and I just want to go there. I want to sit on that bench, pull out a book, maybe have a thermos of coffee or something, and just enjoy a really peaceful morning. The last of the significators for this deck, the counterpart to the Magpie Lenormand's Moth card, we have the Butterfly, which is just gorgeous. We have a monarch butterfly, I believe. So stunning. The color work, the balance. I love Rosen's art so much. Here we have the fox, which I think is pretty similar to the other fox card from the twin deck. Gorgeous though. I love the fox card so much. I know it can represent deceit and betrayal for some readers. And that's fine. You know, we all need to read how it feels comfortable for us to read. But I find that looking at it that way, for my practice at least, it's way too similar to the definition for the snake card. And so I like to look at the fox as ingenuity and employment. And I really enjoy the way Rosen has illustrated the fox card for this purpose, because when foxes jump up like this, this is what they do when they're like hunting for prey beneath the snow and things like that. I can't remember the exact name of the science behind how they can track like rodents through the snow, but them jumping up and pouncing is a big part of it. And so this aspect being what the fox card is like visually depicted as, I feel like really speaks to that ingenuity and the doing what you need to do to get food on the table sort of vibe. So I really love that. For the bear, this time we have a beautiful polar bear, just gorgeous, just stunning. If you don't like pinks or corals, this deck might piss you off. I used to not like pink, and then something switched in my brain this year and I cannot get enough pink. For the stars, we have, again, Big Dipper and Little Dipper, just like in the Magpie's Lenormand, although I do think the artwork is fresh and new. I don't think she recycled anything, or they recycled anything. I'm not sure of their pronouns. For the mice, very cute, very sweet. I love like the negative white space for the wheat. I think it's really smart and visually pleasing. For the heart, on the other one, we had deer. So I was like, all right, like H-A-R-T, heart, play on words, purity, innocence, whatever. Made sense, in my head at least. For this one, the bull with, I guess, a calf? I'm a little bit more confused, so I need to look at the guidebook, but it's still beautiful. The crossroad. Okay, so in the other deck that they made, the crossroad is ant going through like various tunnels of an ant mound, which I thought was genius. For this one, the crossroad, we have a fish coming to two different streams. And I think that's just really pleasing because it's very literal, it's very traditional, but it's something I haven't seen yet for a depiction of that card. And so I really appreciate it. I just realized me gesturing so much I might be jangling the camera about with my wild motions. I'll try to tone it down. I can't help it, I'm Italian. The mountain, very straightforward, very beautiful. The key, I really love these white backgrounds. I love the design of the key. I love the sphere in the background. I also love that there's variety. It's not all white. It's not all colorful in the background. I don't know, I feel like it really helps the deck to breathe. The moon, we have water droplets creating ripples and then sort of a crescent-shaped one. I like to think of the moon as not only intuition, but also recognition and like emotionality. And I think the water droplets with the crescent represents this really well, because like, are these falling tears? Like, what's going on? I dig it. I keep vibrating the camera, I'm so sorry. The sun, very straightforward, but I do really enjoy these wavy lines. I think it's beautiful. The lily, also very straightforward, very reminiscent of the lily from their other deck, but it's really hard to piss me off with lilies, so I'm quite happy. The letter, very sweet. The book, I love the book card from this deck and from the other version of the deck. They're a little different, but they both have the ravens, and I just think it's really, really fucking cute. And given the symbolism associated with such birds, I really like that for the book. The albatross, very beautiful. I believe very similar to the one from the other deck. For the ring, we have a magpie, which, you know, magpie's gonna magpie and collect all the fucking shinies. So really works for me. I think it's really beautiful. For anchor, we have an anchor being held onto by an octopus, which is just beautiful. I love all the details on the suction cups. Again, just like the intensity of color, the light and shadow, I just think they have a really beautiful way with a paintbrush. And lastly, we have the fish. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what the fish card looked like from the other one, but I do think this is quite beautiful. The scale work is really nice, and there's some really beautifully defined tiny details in the fins that are also quite beautiful. I don't know if you can pick those up on camera, but they are there. So that, my friends, is the Magpie's Lenormand. Whoops, I'm a liar. That, my friends, is the Owl's Lenormand by Rosen. I totally recommend it. The quality is absolutely lovely. The cardstock is lovely. Yes, it is quite oversized for a Lenormand deck, but if you can get around maybe it not being the perfect deck for a Grand Tableau, it's still, I mean, box spreads are still easy with this size of card, in my opinion. I think it's totally worth going for. I'm going to link all of their relevant information in the video description below. But anyhow, I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope you like this deck. If you have opinions on this deck, or opinions between the differences between this deck and the Magpie's Lenormand counterpart deck, please list them in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. I just got this one in. I haven't gotten to work with it yet, and I am just super, super excited for conversation about this deck. I know it's just starting to arrive to a lot of people, at least in the US. So I haven't seen a whole lot of conversation about it yet, and it's stunning. It is beyond stunning, as is their other Lenormand deck. So yeah, I'm here to chat about it. I love chatting about decks. Anyway, so thanks for sitting by with me for this, and have a beautiful rest of your day.